All right, you know what it is. Anik and Florian Rewind back in your lives in advance of UFC 303. Pereira versus Procházka coming up June 29th. T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada, International Fight Week 2024. Ken Flo, it's nice to see you. I just got to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and we're going right to work here in the hotel. It's pretty nice to be here, though, in the kingdom. I'm not going to lie.
I love it, man. What a savage. I always wanted to visit. Seems like a really cool place, man. All the construction, all the stuff they're doing. And, of course, you have a great card this weekend, man. So it should be fun.
Very excited for that. And, of course, our new look UFC 303. And if this is your first time checking out the Rewind, we appreciate everybody that follows us weekly on the Anik and Florian podcast. Full episodes of that show come out twice a week on either the DraftKings YouTube channel or on our Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel. But for the last couple of years, this has been one of our favorite exercises to do. Anik and Florian Rewind exclusively to UFC Fight Pass. This is the only place you can watch it. And essentially in advance of these big pay-per-views, we pick Ken Flo's brain. We look back at a big fight involving the particulars. And in the case of UFC 303, Ken Flo, not the main event we were expectant that we would receive on June 29th, but it's a rematch, and we're excited to look back at the first fight today between Alex Pereira and Jiří Procházka.
Yeah, no question, man. We have ourselves a dandy. These guys come to play. The UFC know what they're doing here. These are two guys that love to move forward and love to knock out their opponents.
This was a dream fight of UFC matchmaker Mick Maynard before it even materialized, and now he's had the good fortune of being able to put this fight together twice. Let us just set up where these two athletes were, if we could, going into this meeting at UFC 295. So many of you, if you're on UFC Fight Pass, know that Jiří Procházka won the championship in Singapore in dramatic fashion. That was June of 2022. Then he was booked for his first title defense against the man he took the belt from, Glover Teixeira. That rematch was to be December of that year, UFC 282. And that, of course, is when Jiří Procházka had that catastrophic right shoulder injury. Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev end up fighting to a draw for the vacant title. The belt eventually goes to Jamal Hill that January. He gets past Teixeira. But then when Alex Pereira and Jiří Procházka met at UFC 295, November of 2023, the belt was vacant yet again. So it's been a wild couple of years in the light heavyweight division, but feels like at UFC 303, we got the two best guys in the world fighting for the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly the two most exciting knockout artists in the division. These guys love to fight. They love to deliver action. And the two contrasting styles as well is what makes it so riveting as well. Pereira, more of a surgeon, more clinical in his approach. And, of course, Jiří Procházka, Jiří always bringing chaos every time he competes.
All right, so unlike the first meeting, for the rematch, no extended layoff for Jiří Procházka. First meeting, 17-month layoff. And Pereira had beaten Jan Blachowicz in a close title eliminator. That was at UFC 291 in Salt Lake City. And so you knew that he was going to be a part of this equation. But Jiří Procházka, when he vacated the title so quickly, you knew that when he returned, he would do so in a championship setting. So let us get to it. Procházka in the red corner, Pereira in the blue. John Jones and Stipe Miocic not walking through that door. If you recall, that was your main event, or was to be at UFC 295. These guys were going to be the co-main. And Kenny, quite a stare down between these two, even before Buffer did his thing, right?
Dude, I literally have chills just looking at that stare down, just laser eyes right at each other. Two predators staring each other down.
All right, so here we go. UFC light heavyweight title at this point in time at UFC 295 was vacant. Of course, Alex Pereira had to dig deep in that three-round fight against Jan Blachowicz at UFC 291. Got it done that night, and now competing for the light heavyweight championship for the first time against the former king, Jiří Procházka. Procházka is in red, switching up the footwork early, and Pereira is in yellow.
Yeah, Procházka just very unusual in his rhythm, and that can throw even the most experienced fighters off. Just the way that he moves, he's switching his stances. It's very awkward. And as a fighter, especially a clinical one like Alex Pereira, you're trying to get a beat on what your opponent is trying to do, and that is a very difficult thing against someone like Procházka.
Impression for me, Procházka does look to be the slightly smaller man, even though Alex Pereira is the one who competed at 185 pounds prior. Some people feel like Procházka could actually cut down to middleweight, Ken Flo. I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure about that either. But yeah, that is a crazy thing to think about. Alex Pereira, being that big, the fact that he was fighting at 185 pounds is just crazy to me. Clearly made the right choice here, being at 205 pounds, has all his power, has all of his energy, and of course has those low calf kicks that he loves to land. Just beautiful stuff there from Pereira.
Yeah, nice knockdown there by Pereira 1 minute in. And the other thing, too, about Pereira at 205 pounds, Kenny, is that he can actually make relatively quick turns, right? He can save the day, so to speak, at UFC 303. There's no effing way, if he was the middleweight champion, that he would be making that weight for UFC 303. So that's part of the equation as well. And Procházka deserves credit, too. It's not like he is having this extended training camp in advance of UFC 303. Both of these guys competed and won at UFC 300 just 2 months ago.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Pereira, again, just really going to work on that lead leg of Procházka, which is a great thing because, again, that's going to throw off his ability to move around and be comfortable. If I am a striker like a Procházka or anybody, I'm trying to generate power off of the floor. And if I can't put weight on that lead leg, I'm not going to be able to do so. The good thing for Procházka, though, is the fact that he can switch his stances, and he does so often, and he's dangerous from both the right and left side.
Procházka starting to settle in now, a couple minutes in, moving pretty well in on a single leg here.
Yeah, Procházka in on that single leg, now trying to pressure up against the cage. The head on the outside, Pereira going for that guillotine. And this can be a blessing and a curse. Good way to finish the fight. Good way to threaten a finish. But you can also open yourself up to a takedown as well. Procházka trying to get in on those hips now, trying to lower his level. And there he goes. He dumps Pereira. Nice takedown there by Procházka.
And I got to think this is a valuable part of anyone's film study as these two fighters get ready to rematch less than a year after their first meeting. But there has been a lot made of Alex Pereira's anti-grappling, Kenny, and how he manages energy in this situations, controlling posture. We'll see what Procházka can do here as he tries to get inside.
Yeah, and I think that's a really valid point. You know, Pereira isn't that guy who's going to be super dangerous with his submissions or maybe even his sweeps or reversals, but he is good at staying calm, staying composed, and doing just enough to prevent damage. You see him get that inside position with his arms, which is very, frustrating for a guy who's on top trying to land shots. Pereira with those long arms, staying on the inside, doing a good job of blocking those punches and trying to control the posture and power of Procházka.
Just over a minute here to go in the opening round of what was your main event at UFC 295. Of course, as we get ready for the ensuing rematch between Alex Pereira and Jiří Procházka. Half guard here.
I thought it was a smart thing by Procházka to turn Pereira away from the cage. Pereira very good at cage walking, getting his shoulders up against the cage and getting back to his feet. So I thought that was a smart play by Procházka. Now he's a little bit more effective, good posture there, and he's got his left hand free, not staying as busy as you'd think, but I think he's trying to manage his energy, but there's some beautiful right elbows from Procházka.
Yeah, a couple nice elbows from the fight finisher, Jiří Procházka, and we've heard really for years now Glover Teixeira talk about how strong Alex Pereira is physically in these grappling situations. And now he's had a couple years in the UFC to really stack training camps as he tries to leverage a hip, and looks like he's going to get up right here before the end of the round.
Yeah, there's that beautiful get up we were talking about. Pereira, great job, goes right back to work on the feet as well.